Welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating ancient text. And what's so cool about it is that it tackles a problem that feels incredibly modern. How in the world do we get a handle on our own minds? Well, this text lays out a technique that is surprisingly simple, but as you'll see, incredibly powerful.
So let me just start by asking you this. Is your mind your friend? Or, let's be honest, does it sometimes feel like your own worst enemy? We've all been there, right? Our thoughts can make us feel on top of the world, but they can also drag us down into anxiety and conflict, right when all we want is a little bit of peace.
Well, our story today starts with a man who was facing this exact problem head-on. Before he became known as the Buddha, he was a spiritual seeker, the Bodhisatta. And to put it lightly, his mind was pretty much in a state of civil war.
He looked inside and saw that his mind was a total battlefield. You had thoughts pulling him one way, toward calm and clarity, and then a whole other army of thoughts pulling him toward chaos and stress. But instead of just getting swept up in it all, he decided it was time for a completely new strategy. He called this new strategy Dvedhāvitakka, which literally translates to two kinds of thought. And the idea was honestly revolutionary in its simplicity. He decided he was going to take every single thought that popped into his head and sort it into one of two buckets. That's it. No more gray area, just a clear, simple sorting process. So, what are these two big categories? This is where the practice really starts to get interesting. Let's break down what he called the skillful thoughts versus the unskillful ones. Okay, so on the left, you've got the unskillful thoughts, or akusala. These are things like thoughts of sensual craving, wanting something you can't have. Then there are thoughts of ill will, like when you keep replaying an argument in your head over and over. And finally, harmful thoughts. But on the right, you have their direct opposites, the skillful or kusala thoughts, thoughts of renunciation, which is really about letting go, thoughts of genuine non-ill will or kindness, and thoughts of harmlessness or compassion. Now, the Bodhisatta's analysis here was just razor sharp. He realized that letting these unskillful thoughts run wild wasn't just, unpleasant. It was actively destructive. They hurt you, they hurt the people around you, and they totally block your own wisdom. They're a dead-end street that leads you further and further away from any kind of real peace.
But just recognizing the danger, that wasn't enough. The crucial next step was to build a hands-on, practical method for actually training the mind, moment by moment.
And what he came up with was the simple but super powerful three-step process. So anytime an unskillful thought would pop up, he would first recognize it. Just notice it, like, there's a thought of ill will. Second, he'd analyze it, really seeing the damaging consequences. And third, he'd abandon it, actively just let it go, dispel it, and get it out of his mind.
Now, to make this crystal clear, the text gives us this absolutely brilliant analogy. Picture a cow herd. He's watching his cattle, and they keep trying to wander off into a field of delicious, ripe crops. The cow herd doesn't panic or get furious. He just takes his staff and gently but firmly guides the cows back where they belong. And that just perfectly illustrates the practice, doesn't it? Our mind is that precious field. Our peace and wisdom, that's the harvest. And those unskillful thoughts, they're the wandering cattle. Our job is to be that vigilant cow herd, just gently but consistently protecting our inner harvest from getting trampled. And on the flip side, he saw that intentionally cultivating the skillful thoughts had a completely different and way better set of results. They cause zero harm to anyone. In fact, they actively help wisdom grow, and they are essential building blocks on the path to true peace.
He realized he could literally think about kindness and compassion all day and all night and have absolutely nothing to fear from it. But he also noticed something really subtle. Even constant positive thinking takes some effort. Too much of it could actually tire out the body and eventually disturb the mind's ability to just be still.
So, you see, this incredible mastery over his thoughts wasn't actually the final goal. It was the essential prep work for the next stage of his journey, a path toward a really profound kind of clarity. By first weeding out all the unskillful thoughts, and then quieting down the effort of even the skillful ones, he created the perfect mental environment to settle into these incredibly deep states of meditation, which the text calls the jhanas. As you can see here, the jhanas are like a step-by-step progression. He'd start in the first one, which is full of joy that comes from seclusion. Then, as his mind got even calmer, he'd move into the second, where thinking just stops and there's only joy from pure concentration. In the third, even that excitement fades away into this beautiful, mindful equanimity. And finally, the fourth jhana, a state of just profound, untouchable peace, way beyond pleasure and pain.
And it was from this place, this incredibly stable, pure, and crystal clear state of mind, a mind totally free from distraction, that he was finally able to see reality as it truly is and attain supreme enlightenment.
So, after reaching the ultimate goal, what was the Buddha's final advice on all this? Well, he wrapped up the entire journey with one last powerful metaphor.
He said to imagine a huge herd of deer. A malicious person could come along and create a fake path, a tricky decoy that leads the whole herd straight into a deadly swamp. But a kind, compassionate person would create the right path, a safe, pleasant road that leads the deer to a place where they can be secure and thrive.
And the meaning here is just so clear, isn't it? We are that herd of deer. Our unskillful thoughts, that's the treacherous swamp path that leads straight to suffering. But the skillful thoughts, that's the safe road, the one the teacher shows us, that leads to freedom and well-being.
And he finishes with this really direct instruction, speaking to us right through the centuries. He's basically saying, look, out of compassion, I've shown you the way. The rest is up to you. Meditate, he says. Don't be lazy about it so that later on you won't have any regrets.
And that brings the choice right back to us, doesn't it? Right here, right now. That safe path and that treacherous path, they both exist inside our own minds. So the only question that really matters is, which thoughts are you going to choose to cultivate today?